Hello. Oh dear, I don't know what went on there. Guys, today we're talking about the year I felt dead. I wasn't actually dead, but I felt extremely dead. Dead inside, dead outside, dead everywhere. Like I was a big numb ball of deadness. Have you ever felt like you didn't exist, or you're watching your life sort of from someone else's perspective but in your head? Or have you ever just felt completely numb and you're like, what's going on here? Yeah, well, me too. It's a horrible feeling that I genuinely wouldn't wish on anybody else, right? And that is dissociation. You end up questioning your life and your existence, and you're like, well, if I can't feel anything, if I can't do anything, if I'm just here and like, what the heck is going on, then you kind of, you have a bit of an existential crisis, probably where a lot of mine comes from. Yay. But I want to reassure you, to those of you who are out there, I have had a dissociative year where I felt genuinely dead, like actually like what's going on, am I dead? And I came through it after some very hard work, and I want to tell you today all about it. Yeah, I do. For my sins! And I want to help you get through one if you're going through one too. Anyway, welcome back, guys. I am Dawn. I'm a doctor. What? Really? I say that every time because I don't know. I still see myself as a little child inside. What's going on with my singing today? And basically, I like to be a bit fun, and I feel like being a doctor is not very fun. Sorry. And yeah, I also want to report, if you're listening, by the way, you won't notice, but if you're watching, I am actively pouring with sweat. Like, unimaginable amounts. Actually, it's not started dripping yet. But it's like, it's the afternoon sun comes right into this room. No one cares about this, but I want to set the context, okay? It's 27 degrees. It's effing boiling. Like, I know that's normal for most people, but I don't have aircon. And also, whilst you're podcasting, I can't have a fan on and be like, in the background. Nobody wants to hear that. So, I'm sweating it out for you. And I've got an ice pack around my stomach, which should probably come off now, because, well, I think it's not cold anymore. So, there we go. It was working, though. But sorry about that one. Okay, so yeah, like I said, I'm going to be discussing my story in a bit, but let's get into what is dissociation. I think dissociation is an umbrella term for a few different symptoms or a few different conditions, and it's kind of like the umbrella term of having low mood. You can have low mood in depression, or maybe not actually. Maybe that's a bad one. You could have, I don't know, suicidal thoughts in many different conditions like anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, but it doesn't mean that you have schizophrenia because you have suicidal thoughts, or you have depression because you have suicidal thoughts. Do you get what I mean? Hopefully. So just because you have dissociation doesn't mean you have a specific disorder. You could have dissociation and have PTSD. You could have dissociation and it just be normal. You can have dissociation and have depression. Do you see what I mean? Like it's dissociation is a symptom that comes in many different forms. And oh my God, I look disgusting. Okay, we're rolling on. But I'm going to read to you, which I know is like a little bit cheaty, but I couldn't be asked to write them all down and learn them all. So I'm just going to explain to you describe to you even, some of the symptoms that you can get. And then I'm going to talk to you about the ones that I had a bit later. So don't worry, I'm not just going to be reading from a website my whole life. So there's something called... This is within the dissociation umbrella, okay? Dissociative amnesia. It's kind of like when you're driving and then you daydream, essentially, and then you, like, get to your house and you're like, fuck, how did I get here? And you just don't remember the whole journey. And that's quite a common one. But there are other ones where, for example, you might not be able to remember parts of your life. But then I'm like, right, I think about this because people have asked me. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I was 4. I don't know if I remember it or not. And also, I don't know if I don't know, if you know what I mean. Because, I don't know my whole life. And surely I don't remember everything anyway. And then I'm not going to remember if it's like, if it's I don't know. Like, I don't know if I don't remember because I don't remember it. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, they've also put down, forget how to do something you've been able to do well in the past. Find that you have items you don't remember ever owning. I don't feel like that's me, but there's another one. Oh, the one that I just talked about, which was driving, is called a dissociative fugue. Feeling like the world around you is unreal. So I think on the more severe aspect, or like maybe not severe, but there's a like a variance of symptoms within that umbrella, right? So they've put here, see objects changing shape, size or colour. That kind of sounds like hallucination to me, but whatever. Feeling detached or separate from the world around you, seeing the world as lifeless or foggy. That's one that I got. It just felt like it wasn't there, like I just couldn't fucking access the world. Like, I don't know how to describe it apart from I just wasn't in touch with the world. And I feel like it's not, if you're listening to this and you're like, what the heck is she talking about? This bitch cray, then maybe you haven't experienced it. But there are situations probably where you have experienced it, like I said, when you're driving somewhere and then you're like, oh my god, what happened? Or when you're daydreaming, or there's another one where you're like sitting and doing something, you're so engrossed in it that you just forget about the world around you. And so you have experienced it, but probably not to the same degree that people with like troublesome, like actual, you know, like problematic dissociation have felt. So feeling like you're seeing the world through a pane of glass, feeling like you're living in a dream. I think I had that one quite a lot. Feeling as if other people are robots, even if you know they aren't. This is called derealization. Feeling like you're looking at yourself from the outside. This is called depersonalization. I had this, but like, I can't remember what that film is called, where the like robot, they're not robots, they're like characters, the moods are sitting in somebody's head and like, you know, reacting to the world around them. That's how I felt, but to myself. I can't remember the film. Let me just figure that one out. Oh, it's called Inside Out. That was quite easy to find. I just put film with moods in head. Okay. So, yeah, feeling as though you're watching yourself for a film or looking at yourself from the outside. Feeling as if you're just observing your emotions. Feeling disconnected from parts of your body or your emotions. I felt like someone could fucking punch me in the face and I wouldn't even notice. Feeling as if you're floating away. Feeling unsure of the boundaries between yourself and other people. Now, a lot of these things sound wild, right? I agree. And that's what I mean, is it's almost unexplainable and you sound clinically insane. Like, I'm floating away. I'm not real. I don't feel real. But like, thankfully, we're at a time in the world where, you know, enough people have experienced and also verbalized this symptom that people are like, oh yeah, shit is actually real. Like, she hasn't just got hysteria or whatever. Let's put her in a mental asylum. Like, well, that is what would have happened 50, 60 years ago. Scary, isn't it? There's also feeling your identity shift and change. That's identity alteration. These are more like identity ones, which I didn't really get, but identity confusion, difficulty defining what kind of person you are, and then some people getting like flashbacks or triggers, and then so yeah, like I said, there are lots of different types of dissociative disorder, but you can also get dissociation as a symptom within other mental health conditions. So depression, PTSD, very common, anxiety as well, I suppose. But there are specific dissociative disorders, right? So dissociative identity disorder, depersonalization disorder, derealization disorder, dissociative amnesia with fugue, other specified dissociated disorder, unspecified dissociative disorder. That's a lot of S's. That's hard to say, okay? So, it can also come in, like personality disorders is another one that you can get, especially identity ones or multiple personalities. as well. Anyway, there we go. I hope that's kind of summarised the kind of symptoms that you'll get. So, I didn't actually see how common it was, but I feel like I think it's more common than we realise. I think for me, I really didn't want to tell people because I was really worried about losing my job. I was worried about, that was mainly it actually. I was worried about losing my job because, and let's get into my story, all right? Let's just do it. Let's jump double feet in. My story. You remind me of a West Side Story. Maria. Oh dear, I need to stop singing, I'm sorry. I think this happened before and then things stopped and then there we go. I haven't got a weird thought for today and I'll have to try and come up with one. I'm sure I can find one in somewhere, someplace or another. Okay, if you're new to the podcast, by the way, we do a weird thought section. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. I'm very sorry, that's my emails going off there. Okay. My story. I've had, a very traumatic life. What? I started off saying childhood and then lifestyle, and then it kind of went, a very traumatic life. Not lifestyle. I think my lifestyle is very atraumatic, actually. So I'm kind of used to talking about it now, so I didn't go into details, but maybe I should put my silly glasses on to talk about my silly life. There we go. I never know if this is offensive, but then whatever. So, but it's okay when I'm being derogatory to myself, isn't it? Yes. Googly eyes say yes. Anyway, so basically, I don't know why I put these on. I feel like now it's like masking. It looks like I'm masking my trauma, but like I actually just did it. Maybe it was subconscious, I don't know. Okay, so I've got my glasses on. So, traumatic life event. Just get on with it, Dawn. Right, so I've had some horrible stepfathers. Yay. One might call them abusive. And the thing that happened in, what was it? It must have been 2016, 18, I don't know, can't remember, one of those. Oh no, probably 16. Was my stepfather got diagnosed with cancer, like really fucking terminal, like late stage, like mets everywhere, metastases, I mean. Anyway, so he died very, very quickly, within like 4 weeks of being diagnosed. And I went to his funeral and I felt no sadness. And I was very confused, okay? I was confused because I was like, why am I not sad? Everyone else is sad. Okay, I'm going to admit it. I was a bit happy. I was like, he's fucking gone from the world. Goodbye, you absolute wanker. And I felt awful thinking that at somebody's funeral, you know? But then I was like, well, it wasn't like, it was pretty much a big drain on society, on the world, and also on specifically the people around him. So, yeah. So anyway, I went to, because of his shittiness, I went to something called EMDR therapy. Now, EMDR therapy is eye movement desensitization, desensitization. I can't remember what the R stands for now, but I don't think it's that important. Anyway, you basically, I'm very sorry you can hear the ambulance in the background, but I'm going to keep talking. So you basically, my guy had I think it was a coin, like, it was a bit wacky, let's put it this way, a coin on a stick. He had like sellotaped it, I believe. A coin on a stick. Anyway, he waggled his stick around, backwards and forwards, like a grandfather ticking clock. You know that, like, pendulum? But like upwards. And you're supposed to like think of the traumatic event in your life and also watch the waggling stick or whatever object they use. And that is supposed to access some kind of inner brain thing and, like, desensitize you to the trauma. However, okay, now trauma is a long thing to get over. It's not just like, done, yeah, I'm over it. Yeah, I just did 1 hour therapy and I am sorted. All of my childhood issues from 20 years, gone. Yeah, so no, that doesn't happen, unfortunately. Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be lovely? But but it doesn't. So alas, here we are. Anyway, this man, I can't even remember his name now. I'm trying to remember, but he was pretty cray. He was like a trained psychologist, right? So he basically did his waggly stick thing, and then what happened was I dissociated because of the stress of like thinking about it, etc., etc. I dissociated, and the thing is, another ambulance, great. Fuck me. Can you go die somewhere else, please? Anyway, so I'm talking about my trauma. I hope another one doesn't go past. Like, seriously, I'm going to feel real bad if something like really significant's happened. Anyway, what was I saying? After I got rudely interrupted by those noisy cars, noisy vans. So, anyway, so he made me judge, I guess, score my traumatic brain feelings, or how present the feeling was, how distressing it was, from 0 to 10. 10 being like but worse, but I don't want to deafen you, so, but like fucking screaming, rocking in a corner. 0 being, what are you talking about? Like, that didn't happen. And mine went down quite quickly, but that was because I dissociated. And what happens is your brain just goes, oh, this is stressful. Let's block this out and not feel anything. So what happened was I skipped away very happily, feeling cured after 2 sessions, like unheard of, okay? Everybody I have told since then, all of my counsellors, sounds like I've had bloody loads, but like anybody I've told, not that I tell a lot of people, any healthcare professional that I've told who's involved in my care has been like, whoa, 2? Really? Like, that's insane. And I was like, yeah, like it definitely was too quick. Anyway, I emailed this guy, and this is how weird it was. Like, we emailed, like, who emails their clinician? I don't know. So today is just full of background noise, I'm afraid. That was a motorcyclist going past. Anyway, so I emailed him like, hi, I feel dead. I can't feel anything and I don't feel alive. Is that okay? Is that normal? Like, am I dead? Did you kill me? And he was like, oh, never heard of that before. Why don't you come in and I'll have a chat to you? So I came in. Bear in mind, this man's a fucking trained psychologist. Like, he's not just any old, maybe he was, but he's not, shouldn't have been just any old rando, like, walking about on the street with no mental health knowledge, okay? He's like, no, I don't know, like, I'm sure it'll get better. And it was really bad, okay? This went on for a year, right? At least a year, my symptoms. And they varied, yeah, I think maybe even longer, actually. Shit, I'm gonna have to change the title of this episode. How I felt dead for 2 years. It was a long time because it went into F1, and I think I was sort of coming out of it at the end, in F2, so like 2017 to 2019. So yeah, it was probably like 2 years or so. And oh boy, what a fucking journey. Right, so I've already mentioned some of my symptoms, right? So I felt like I was watching myself talk. So, oh my god, thank God I don't have it now, right? So it's like I'm like controlling myself. I'm like sitting on the sofa or something. Not that I was. In my head, I was in my head, but like me as a human, okay, it sounds weird. Me as a human, I was like back here rather than like here, okay? If you're just listening, I'm pointing to like the back of your head, like if I'm sitting in the back of my head, compared to like I am my head. Oh, I know it sounds silly, but like these symptoms make no sense, okay? They don't, unless you've experienced them, it doesn't make any sense, alright? So I'm in my head, but I'm not controlling myself. I don't know. But anyway, I was controlling myself because I never did anything weird. Like I didn't find myself like wandering down the road, like in my slippers. Interestingly, I actually saw an old lady walking down the road in her dressing gown, an old Russian lady with dementia, and she, instead of having slippers on, she had period sanitary towels on her feet, like attached. Anyway, just wanted to throw that one in there. That can be my weird thought for the day. Wearing sanitary towels instead of shoes. There we go. That's what old age does to you. So, yeah, what was I even talking about? Sanitary towels. So I felt like, holy fuck, I was having a lot of help at this point, right? So I was able to go to like counselling or CBT every week. Like the foundation school was so good to me. Like I cannot, like it was hard because I was hard work, like fair enough. But they were, oh my God, I thought it was another ambulance. They were so good to me in terms of like letting me go to appointments and making sure I went as well. And I was in touch with my GP and like giving me time off and stuff if I needed it. Or although I would never like sign myself off, I would always just like get to a breaking point and then be like, okay, that only happened once, but there we go. So yeah, I was worried because I was like, am I okay to work? Like, am I okay to even be a human? Because I'm walking around and I don't feel like I'm in control of myself. Although I am, and I'm not doing anything weird and I'm doing everything I'm told to do, but it feels like someone else is doing it. Like, I don't know, all right? It felt automatic, that's what it felt like, but like a kind of distressing automatic, not like, wow, I'm just doing something that's really easy. It was like, I was sat in the back of my head like, what the fuck, like, let me control it, I want to be involved. So that was probably the worst one, and yeah, there have been a lot of techniques over the years that I have tried to work with. So let's talk about quickly why we dissociate. And I think it's kind of obvious from my initial discussion was, number one, other mental health disorders. Like I said, it can be a symptom of other mental health disorders. So I did have depression and anxiety, and I had that EMDR that was like not working. So I had so many reasons to feel dead. Okay. Number two, I think it started as a coping mechanism for my brain because, and this is quite common, when you're asked to relive or you're experiencing inescapable trauma that's even happening to you right now, although in theory my trauma at that point was escapable, but I just didn't realise what the result of like triggering it would be. Anyway, the trauma, if you're a child, for example, and you're being abused, like the trauma is kind of inescapable because often you can't just run away, you can't physically leave, and you often don't seek help because you're scared and it's, people have control over you, so your brain escapes mentally rather than physically. Also, you might dissociate if you are reliving any previous traumatic events, or the last one, maybe this isn't like a complete list, but these are the ones that I have found, or drugs, specifically alcohol, can make you feel numb, kind of not really here, like a bit like I'm slapping my face, like I can't feel stuff, right? Or medications, if you're like, it can be a side effect of a medication, I can't think of one in particular, but a medication coming on or off, or other drugs. I don't know, like maybe if you're having a come down or something off like MDMA, I don't know whether that might be a side effect for you. Okay, now let's get on to the fun stuff. The fun stuff. I don't know if it's fun. Maybe for fun times, I should put on... Oh my God, I just realised that my glasses should be on for the weird thoughts section. Like, how silly of me. But I don't have a weird thought, apart from the one I've already said. So, anyway, I think they've had enough wearing for today. I think they look fucking so funny. Like, come on. If you don't like them, then please leave. So, okay, how to manage it. No, I'm joking, don't leave. If you don't like them, I don't know what I'll do, but I will cry. So if you tell me, that's a danger, but I would love it if you love them like I do. I just think they look funny. Anyway, how to manage your dissociative disorder or dissociation symptoms. Treat the underlying medical issue. So, if you are drinking lots of alcohol, fucking stop it. Like, come on, sort your life out. No, sorry, that was sarcasm, but like, try and seek help for overcoming your drug or alcohol addictions, because drugs don't make things better, my friends. In fact, they only mask the problem. But in terms of like, you might want to go on to, or you might want to talk to your doctor or whoever's prescribing your medications, which hopefully is a doctor. You might want to speak to your doctor about changing a medication if it's being particularly naughty for you. I can hear something, but I don't know what it is. So, to a different type of medication or a different medication. Now, the one thing that I have found very useful, right, what is that? I think it's my computer, but it'll have to just cope, because it's like, I think it's overheating. It's really hot, like seriously so hot, and I'm feeling sorry for it because I'm boiling too and it can't sweat, so it's turned its fan on. Maybe I'll take the paper off. Don't want to set it alight, do we? Okay, so counselling and therapy have been my biggest go-tos, and I was going to say bi-weekly, but it's actually, what's it called? Fortnightly counselling sessions. So I have it with a private counsellor because you're not going to get that on the NHS. Sorry, you're just not. And it is expensive, okay? It's like £60 a session, which is why I decreased it to once every 2 weeks. But also, you have to think, like, what about your mental health? Is that not the most important thing in the world? Like, your physical and mental health, and like one of the most important things, as well as some other things like housing and, you know, clean water and food and friends and family, etc. But like, it's up there. You know, you can't enjoy food and friends and family and having a life if your mental health is shite, can you? So I see it as an investment or a long-term, you know, prophylaxis, because I obviously do have mental health problems and I want to try and keep them as good as I can, because when I was younger I just fucking let them slide down, and well, that was a bad time, because the lower you let them slide, the longer it takes to get them out of that trough. So I've also put avoid drugs, like obvs. Some people suggested with dissociative thoughts is to keep a diary. Now, for me, I actually found that just not thinking about the thoughts was better for me. Now, I think it can go one of like two ways. You can either not think about the thoughts, or you can keep a diary to monitor them and say, okay, this is what makes my thoughts more present, and this is what triggers off my dissociation. Now, if you already know that link, I personally, now this is just me, I don't like keeping a diary, because it just makes me focus on the symptoms more. And I'm just like, no, I don't want to, like, I know it's like, you know, you got to think about stuff and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, for me, I don't want to think about how absent I'm feeling from life. It just actually makes me more stressed and think about it. And then I get more dissociated. So I found the things that made me feel more alive. That was, I love to feel nature on my skin. That being in particular cold air, rain, or just like the feeling of like just nature, like cold. I actually quite like feeling cold, like wind on my skin, having like just going out and having the rain drop on your face. Like, for me, going outside and being in nature was like a really strong bring me back to life vibe. Other people might go to more extremes, and I don't know if you've watched Twilight, which is like a film. It's also a book by Stephanie Meyer, but one of the main characters, Bella, this might be a spoiler, so if you haven't watched it, then maybe skip like a minute or so. So basically, Edward leaves her, and Edward's her like boyfriend who's a vampire, and she misses him so much, but she gets these like hallucinations, or I don't know if they're real, but whatever. She gets hallucinations of him saying, no, don't do it, when she does something dangerous. So she starts to like do all of these dangerous things, as in adrenaline junkie stuff, like jumping off cliffs and stuff, riding motorbikes, etc., in order to get these hallucinations. Now, I kind of see that somewhat in parallel to what people might do if they're having a dissociative episode. They might want to feel more. So like they're like, oh, I'll be an adrenaline junkie. Not, they don't have that thought process, but if they're an adrenaline junkie, then that kind of pushes them to feel more because you get the adrenaline rush. But I don't know if I recommend that as such, because then you're always pushing for the next thing, and you can't get an adrenaline rush in everyday life. Like maybe you could go on a bike. It's also a bit dangerous. So do with that information what you will. I would say if you're at work and having these symptoms, just take some extra time just to say, okay, I'm going to double check what I've done here. Maybe get somebody else to check it. Maybe explain to your employer like your situation, and they will give you some extra support. I understand that's easier said than done, but that's what I did, and that really helped. I was probably more heavily watched than someone else in the same position. Now, if you have severe symptoms of like amnesia or fugue or whatever, I've been watching some survival programs, okay? So I know it's not like you're not going to go wandering out into the desert probably, but I would say always tell someone like where you're going, keep your location services on your phone, always have it nice, fully charged. This is just bloody great life advice actually. So for everybody, have your phone fully charged before you go out anywhere. And I always take an extra battery pack with a charger with me, especially if you're going somewhere like outdoorsy, because the amount of the survival programs that I watch, they're like, this is why this situation went wrong, and it's always because they run out of phone battery or they don't have any signal, which I find a bit crazy. In America and Canada, you can't call emergency services without phone signal. They're doing something wrong there. Tell people when you should be back, and always just take like a snack with you in case, or like maybe a few snacks in case things go badly, and a water bottle and stuff. Now I'm like, that's thinking like extreme survival crazy mode, but it depends how severe your symptoms are. I think just doing simple things that make you happy. For me, I really like I said, going out in nature. I really love hanging washing out outside. I know it's fucking weird, but like the fact that I love it, not that I do it. It's not that weird that I do it, but I love doing that, and I love walking around outside without any shoes on. Dangerous. Adrenaline junkie, I know. And I really love acting. I kind of go into like a dissociative fugue like when I'm doing that. Like sometimes I get fully into the zone and I just forget there's even an audience there. And that could be in itself, it could just be hyper-focused, but it could also be like you're in the zone and not seen negatively, but it also could be like dissociative thing, but I see it as a positive thing because actually I'm having fun whilst I'm doing it. I'm not like stressed. But dissociation doesn't have to be negative. Like I daydream quite a lot, and I wouldn't say that's a negative thing to do as long as you're not like flying a plane or something, or landing a plane maybe. So do simple things that make you happy. I've got a magazine called The Simple Things, very obvious, and I just love reading it. Like it makes me feel really good, it makes me feel really present, and it's got like monthly advice tips. And if you're in the UK, I think it has a non-UK electronic version as well, so go check it out. Anyway, fucking sick mental health magazine. It's not specifically for mental health, but it's just like living a beautifully simple and nature-filled life. And maybe it's just me who loves it, but anyway, I also want to reassure you that it will go away with some work. Now, don't just assume that, Dawn says it's going to go away, so I'll just leave it and it'll go away. No, I did a lot of work to like work with my mental health, and I went to appointments every week, like I said, or sometimes even more. And it wasn't specifically about, dissociation, but it was just about my mental health in general and some like traumatic things, etc. So it all contributes though, doesn't it? It's just mental health, like fixing, like healing. So just generally working on your mental health. If you're in the UK and you want to go on the NHS to get your mental health stuff, like therapy, bloody get in there now, okay? I'm telling you, it's going to take 6 months to get anywhere, so just get your shit together. Anyway, if you're feeling like a bit now, then I would consider getting on the waiting list. Final number, I don't know what number it is. There are some specialist dissociative clinics, which I actually did look at when I was in the true, realm. No, that's not the word. True, difficulty, the true pinnacle, one might say, of my dissociation. And it's called Clinic for Dissociative Studies, and it's in London. They specifically obviously focus on dissociative disorders, and if you do need help, they want a referral from your GP. So I never did it because I felt like I was getting better. But if you really are struggling with it, I would go check it out. There might also be some other ones in other countries, or they might even do an online thing, this one in London, so you might not have to travel there. They might just do online consultations, which would be great. So go check all of those things out and let me know. Let me know in the comments down below. Love it rhymes. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Are you currently going through a dissociative episode and feeling really shit? Has this episode helped you? I'd love to know, and share it with other people if you think that they need it too. Or do you want me to do any episodes on any other topics? Because I have lots of things to talk about and lots of words and lots of energy to speak words, and I'd love to know if you're struggling with a particular thing. Leave it in the comments down below, or send me an email, or send me an Instagram message or a Facebook message. I do check them all periodically. And yeah, thanks so much for listening, guys. If you're listening on the podcast, that is great. I don't know what I was going to say there. If you're listening on the podcast, then there is a YouTube video. It goes up in 2 weeks, as you may know. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, by the way, you can actually just listen. That's a phone. You can actually just listen to me. If you're doing your chores, or you're going driving or whatever, you don't have to listen on YouTube. I will leave the link in the description, or if you can just look on Spotify, Backseat Positivity podcast, or literally on any streaming platform for podcasts. Or there is my own website where you can, I believe, download the episodes and listen to them. So you don't need to just watch me, because I know that some people are like, oh, I don't know if I want to sit down and watch a 40 minute to an hour episode. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I don't sit down regularly and watch podcasts, but I do listen to them, especially on when I'm driving. So, or when I'm doing chores, because I fucking hate chores, like cleaning. So you could listen to me whilst you're cleaning, having a great time. So yeah. I don't know what my episode's gonna be. By the way, I'm sorry for this episode being late. It is a day late. I was going through a bit of an issue yesterday. Basically, I had a really unproductive day, and I get really sad when I don't do anything, which sounds really silly, but I feel really unproductive, and then I'm and I just get worse and worse and worse, and I just felt really sad. So I wasn't in a good place to be uploading or talking to a microphone for an hour. So yeah, thanks so much for listening, guys. I'll stop blabbering on now, and I will see you every Monday and Thursday. Bye.